Hi everyone, my name is Tory and this is my YouTube channel. It's a little bit of a work in progress, not much here, but I do plan to do more networking and programming videos. Network programmability and Cisco in general. Maybe I'll do some CCNA geared videos as well down the line. But today I really just wanted to share this lab, not necessarily the lab itself, but what I'm doing with the lab. So right here, I have EvE, if you're not familiar, set up. It is a network virtualization platform that runs on Linux, uses Linux KVM under the hood. But besides that, if you've never heard of any of that stuff, that's okay. Essentially, this is the same thing as GNS3. It allows you to upload images and virtualize equipment. So right now I have a multi-site topology that I'm working on. It's not fully built. A couple of ASAs that I'm working on, going to DMZ. This is all network control. So this is a control node. And on the control node, I actually have, well, it's Ubuntu running. And then I have some scripts that I've used, right? And Ansible on there as well. So what I've been trying to do for the past couple of weeks, in and out of things when I have spare time in the evenings, is get Ansible up and running for this topology so I can roll out configuration information. And I'm not quite there yet, but today I made finally some breakthrough on this, and I wanted to share. So the first thing I'll do is go ahead and open up my Linux node here. And let it load. All right, so as you can see here, I've got my VNC session. Log in. This is my development machine. So we'll clear this out and back it up a little bit. Oops. Okay, so first thing I want to show is my hosts file. So in my host file, I just assigned basically all the IP addresses, the management addresses for my devices and their host names so that they will be reachable either way. And looking back at the topology, you can see the red is my out-of-band management network. I do have some simulated WAN connectivity here, but the primary thing that we're looking at right now is everything in red. All of these devices are, of course, they're powered off, and there's a reason for it. I'm going to show you why. But for right now, just understand that all of these links are out-of-band management, and they are set. Where is my Linux? Here we go. They're set to the 192 or the 172.16.990/24 subnet, with the control node being the .1. So you can see it starts with .2. Let's do .24 here. Now, if I go ahead and SSH to, let's say, internet, I'm sorry, actually wanted to ping there. It's not going to work, right, because that device is down. But we're going to boot them up, and the reason it's down is because I was applying some new config. So in order to get Ansible working, I wanted to use public-private key authentication with SSH instead of username and password. And this has kind of been the hardest thing to figure out how to get up and running, for me, for Ansible, because I had some SSH errors and some issues I had to work through and generate new keys and put the keys on all the devices manually, and it took me a little while. Great learning experience. But if I should, what I want to show you here is, so I need to go to my .sh folder, take a look inside there. You can see I have a public and a private key. So if you're not aware, In order to generate these, you'll go to that folder and then you do ssh-keygen. I'm not going to do it, but ssh-keygen will generate those keys for you. Then you will do then you essentially copy paste everything except for this comment at the end into the router, and I'll give you a quick preview on that right now to show you what that config looks like to get that up and running. This prevents the need to use username and password to log in, which is ideal for working with Ansible. All right, so in EvE we can go to Startup Configs, and I can choose my config set final. This allows me to apply config to any of these devices upon boot. So for example, we're looking at internet, so we'll click on the internet cloud. It's actually a switch simulating internet connectivity in the lab. And in here, you can actually paste in a config that you want that device to boot with. And then you'll turn the slider to on. Once you get the config in there, you go to the device and you need to wipe it. Right now, I've already done that. I've wiped all of these. But in order to shut it down, you'll need to wipe that config. Any config that's in there out, that'll automatically wipe and shut it down, and then you can edit your config in the window I just showed you. And then when you boot it back up, it'll configure itself based on that new configuration. But in order to set the config, you'll go to edit, you'll go down here to startup configuration, and you'll just choose final. So as long as that matches there, we're good. All right, so let's go ahead and go to more actions, and now we're just going to want to boot all these devices with the new configuration. Before I do that real quick, one thing I will show you is under this device, it's the same under all. You would do IPSSH public key chain, you do username dev, and then under that mode you will do it stores it as a key hash, but you need to do key-string, and then you need to paste in everything that we showed you in Linux before, and it will generate this key hash. And then once you have this key hash, you can quite easily transfer that from, copy paste that into new devices. So under final, I actually had to go through and put a new RSA key in here. So now they all currently have this one, which is deprecated, so I need to roll this out. I've already pasted this in all of these devices, wiped them, shut them down, so now we're going to boot them up. When they come up, I will prove connectivity to all those devices, and I'll show you the Ansible piece. Let's go ahead and more actions. We'll do start all nodes. There's already a few started, but that shouldn't affect those. We should just be starting the ones that are shut down. Okay, so you can see successes in the top right. All right, so now we see start all done. And you see all these devices have a little time clock symbol next to them now. So that means they're being configured by the script that I pasted in startup configs. It might take a few minutes, so I'll just go ahead and fast forward this part. Okay, so back on the Linux box. Okay, so now we can see that all of these have the normal icon, they're running. They don't have that clock anymore. That means that they have finished their configuration. It does take a little while, but it's a little bit better than doing some of that work manually. You can walk away, get a cup of coffee, come back by the time it should be done. All right, so back on the Linux box here, I've got a couple of scripts that I wrote to test connectivity. We're just going to test the out-of-band management. We're going to use the ping.py, so Python ping.py. Python ping.py, there we go. All right, so now we can see it's just going to run through and send 2 pings to each device. And some of these might be down, but the majority of them should be up. You can see we are receiving, pings back, getting our replies, and everything seems to be, most of them seem to be working just fine. There's two that will fail every time the ASAs, and then there might be an issue with one or two of the other devices, but for this demonstration, that's not going to make any difference at all. So we know that that works. So now I need to test my RSA key that I put on all those devices now, make sure I can SSH into all of those devices. For that, I've got another script. So we'll do python ssh.py. And I need to go through, ooh, that does not look good. So what we need to do is take a look at this error. So it says key error host name. Okay, so cat ssh. Let's take a look at the script. What did I break? So I did jump in here and make a change. So let's see. Key error host name. All right, so this is referencing my Excel file here. So let's go ahead and take a quick look, see if we can fix this real quick. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I do want to test SSH and accept the key fingerprints on all those devices. So we'll go to documents, lab, we'll go to config templates, oops, wrong folder here, and we'll take a look at this here. So this is the name of the header, and exactly. So I did change, I originally had a colon at the end of each host, or at the end of each column header here, but I was having issues with it, and I simplified them. So we need to fix that. So let's go ahead and make that change real quick. So we'll do a vim ssh.py, and then we can just go ahead and just match on that. Makes my life a little easier. We'll do I to insert, which allows us to type, and I'll just blast that out of there. We can do hostname. That should fix that problem. And I may need to fix that somewhere else. Nope, actually I think we're probably good. So we'll save that. Did escape :WQ to get out of there if you're not familiar with them. And we will go ahead and do a test of that script now. Here we go. So we're in the first device here. And it's just going to go through one by one and just verify that I can actually access with the new key. And, if one worked, they're all going to work, but we're going to run through them quick just to be sure. Okay, so we should be good there. Now let's go ahead and back out of this directory and take a look at Ansible. So now we have our devices, they're up and running, the management, I can SSH, let's say npls, show run, and I can see my config. We are golden. I got out-of-band management. So from there, I'm going to go to Ansible, this directory, and I've got a couple of things to show. So in the actual Ansible etc/Ansible folder, I've got ansible.config, which comes with Ansible. I modified it slightly, I'll show you, and then got hosts. So we'll do cat Ansible, and then we'll do hosts. Take a look at that. So I've got here all of my hosts spelled out here, and then I've got some vars that I needed. Right, so this is where I got stuck getting the private key, public-private key authentication to work. So I needed to specify a user dev, a SSH private key file pointing towards the private key that I generated. I needed to specify that I was doing Network OS, iOS. We're going to use Network CLI module, and I needed to turn off the strict host key checking because that's where I was running into some issues. And for a lab, this is fine. For production, absolutely do not want to do this. But we're in the lab, and I'm not an expert at Ansible or SSH, so I'm not sure how I would go about doing this in production. Maybe somebody can help me, comment down below. But for now, this is how we're doing it. So let's take a look at the Ansible config file, and I'll show you what I needed to change here. Okay, so I uncommented this to make sure I use the right host file for my inventory. Here it is, so SSH connection here. And what I did here, after a lot of Googling, was I uncommented the SSH args, and then I put in strict host key checking. So it's -O, and then strict host key checking equals no. This fixed the errors I was getting and allowed me to SSH into those devices using Ansible. I also had to put this in as well, specify the key exchange algorithm. For these specific devices, because they're lab and they're a little older, they wanted me to use either Diffie-Hellman Group 14 or Diffie-Hellman Group 1, which is also disabled in new versions of Linux for security purposes, but I had to include that for this particular lab, just for lab usage. So those are the two main things that I had to fix here to get this up and running. So if you're not familiar with Ansible, that's okay. What I'm going to do is basically do what's called an ad hoc command. So we'll do Ansible. All right, so Ansible works. We'll check the version, 296, and it is using the proper config file. Okay, so we'll do Ansible all, specifying everything in my inventory, -M for module, and we'll do the ping module. So this is going to test connectivity in a much more elegant way than my script did previously. So let's see how this goes. We're getting back green, success all across the board. So that's awesome. Oops. So now let's take a look at some of these playbooks that I have. Nothing, complicated here. I will show you the one that I'm going to run. The rest are testing, and quite frankly, I've had a lot of bad luck here. So this one I validated and verified is working. So vir and host.yaml. So for YAML, you need the 3 dashes at the top to specify a YAML file, and then you will spell out your playbook like this. Check out the Ansible documentation. I'm not explaining this in detail now, but the name of the playbook is gather iOS facts. It's going to focus on the internet host. I could put all there to do all of them. Network CLI, task. We're going to use Network CLI module here. Tasks, gather iOS facts. This one's previous, before I did the public key authentication, so I'm pretty sure I can wipe this out of here. But I'm going to leave it for now. So name, what is the OS version? And it's going to, from the gather facts, it gathers facts prior to executing these tasks, and then it stores them in variables. So we're just referencing those variables and printing them out. The version and then the host name of the device. So thanks to Keith Barker on this one for doing his Ansible video. That's where I got this playbook. I modified it a little, but I don't even really think I modified it other than my username and password, but can't take credit for this one. Go check out his channel. He is a inspiration. So we're going to go ahead and do Ansible. Playbook. And we're just going to specify that playbook, and hopefully everything works. All right, just give it a minute to run. We got an OK. And the version 15.2 and a host name. So that's pretty awesome. This is the first, actually the second time, that I've seen success result on any of my playbooks, because I had all of those SSH public private key issues. And once I figured out ways to get around that, I was able to finally get some results. So that's really all I wanted to show. We could probably take a look at iOS commands and try to run just a ad hoc command or a single command here. Let's give that a try. So iOS. Let's look at this one. iOS.ping.yaml. So this one's looking at the host MPLS. Network connection is CLI. Username is dev. That's for that's the user that is tied to my public key, my private key that I'm using here. So down below we've got test reachability on out-of-band network, and it's going to send a ping to the hub, essentially this device that I'm on, the control node. So let's go ahead and close that out. Let's go ahead and run that. We should be able to have a successful thing here, or successful run of this play. While that's running, I'll finish getting my capture set up. There it is. Let's see. It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it was successful. Okay. Let's try this. Okay, so I added it to the known host now. I mean, this is really like my first real experience with Ansible. So there we go. All right, okay. MPLS okay. So let's take a look at the packet capture here. I'll stop this. And here we go. This is all SSH traffic between, and I'm sorry if this is small. It's probably really small. Okay, so at least we can see from that host to here. So let's go ahead and just filter quickly for ICMP, and we can see the pings and the replies here. It's going back and forth, and there was no trouble there. Boom. So I'm going to continue pressing on in this journey. Over the coming weeks, I'll do some video updates as I go. If you have any questions, shoot them down below. I probably won't be able to answer them, but I will do the absolute best that I can. If you have any tips for how to get around some of the issues that I had in this video, please also comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe to this channel. I'm going to be doing a lot of cool videos coming up here as time permits. It's outside my day job, but aside from that, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.